The Fairmont Grand Hotel stood like a jewel on a velvet night, its facade glowing softly under the amber lights of the city. Inside, the ballroom was a masterpiece of opulence, polished marble floors, cascading crystal chandeliers, and velvet drapes framing massive arched windows that overlooked the glittering skyline. The air was thick with the scent of fresh roses and the faint trace of expensive perfume. Guests arrived in waves, their designer gowns and tailored tuxedos a sea of elegance. Conversations swirled through the space, a harmonious blend of laughter, whispered deals, and compliments exchanged over glasses of champagne. This was no ordinary gathering. This was the annual charity gala, a night where the city's elite mingled under the guise of philanthropy, their wealth and influence on full display. The night had a certain rhythm, a dance of tradition and prestige. Business magnates discussed mergers and acquisitions. Celebrities posed for photographers, their smiles bright but calculated. Journalists moved through the crowd, taking mental notes for stories that would grace tomorrow's headlines. Yet among all the glitz and glamour, there was one figure who seemed almost out of place, not because he didn't belong, but because he wasn't seeking attention. Seated toward the back, near the edge of the room, was Barron Trump. At just 18 years old, Barron was no stranger to public scrutiny. Yet here he was a picture of quiet composure. His tall frame and refined demeanor exuded a maturity far beyond his years. While others leaned into the spotlight, he seemed content to remain an observer, his piercing blue eyes scanning the room with an almost meditative calm. Barron had been invited by a family friend, a quiet gesture meant to give him a glimpse into a world beyond the relentless glare of the public eye. He wasn't here to network or to make headlines, he was here simply to experience. Yet as fate would have it, the night would unfold in a way that no one, least of all Barron, could have anticipated. The evening's program progressed smoothly at first. Guests mingled over delicate hors d'oeuvres served on silver trays. A string quartet played softly in the corner, their music adding a layer of elegance to the already enchanting atmosphere. Speeches were given, toasts were made, and for a while it seemed like nothing could disturb the flawless orchestration of the night. But then came the keynote speech. The MC took to the stage, their voice cutting through the ambient hum of conversation. They introduced the evening's speaker with enthusiasm, their words painting a picture of a celebrated journalist, known for their sharp wit and unapologetic commentary. This was someone who thrived on challenging norms, someone who wasn't afraid to push boundaries. As the journalist stepped onto the stage, the room quieted. All eyes turned toward them as they approached the podium with a confident stride. Their sleek black suit, impeccable posture, and charismatic smile spoke of a seasoned professional accustomed to commanding attention. They began with ease, their opening lines drawing polite laughter from the crowd. They joked about the city's traffic and shared anecdotes from past events, weaving humor and charm into their speech. For a moment, it felt like any other gala, a polished performance designed to entertain and inspire. But then, the tone shifted. What started as lighthearted commentary gradually morphed into pointed critiques. The journalists' focus turned to politics, and their words became sharper, their humor more biting. They poked fun at well-known political figures, drawing both laughter and uneasy glances from the audience. And then, they turned their attention to the former president, Donald Trump. "Well," they said, pausing for effect, "we can't talk about the state of the world without mentioning the man who made orange the new black." The room erupted into scattered laughter, though not everyone joined in. Some guests chuckled nervously, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Barron, seated at his table, remained completely still. The journalists continued, their jokes escalating in sharpness. They critiqued policies, tweets, and public appearances, their words a blend of satire and scorn. The audience's reactions became increasingly mixed, some entertained, others visibly tense, and then the journalist crossed a line. "And of course," they said with a sly smile, "we can't forget his most overlooked legacy, the next generation. I mean, let's talk about Barron." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Heads turned toward Barron, who was now the center of attention. The journalist's tone remained playful, but their words carried an undeniable sting. "Imagine growing up in a golden tower, surrounded by marble everything, while your dad's out there tweeting about covfefe. Must have been quite the character-building experience." Laughter followed, but it was uneasy, scattered. Some guests chuckled nervously, glancing toward Barron to gauge his reaction. Others sat in stunned silence, their discomfort palpable. Barron, however, didn't flinch. He didn't shift in his chair, didn't lower his gaze. Instead, he remained perfectly composed, his expression calm and unreadable. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for him to react. But Barron gave them nothing. The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating. Even the journalists seemed to sense the tension, their earlier confidence faltering. They forced a laugh, muttering, "Tough crowd." into the microphone. And then, Barron moved. Slowly, deliberately, he pushed back his chair and stood. The soft scrape of the chair legs against the floor was the only sound in the room. At over 6 feet tall, Barron was an imposing figure, his quiet presence commanding attention without effort. He stepped away from his table, each movement measured and deliberate. The room watched in stunned silence as he made his way toward the stage. When he reached the edge of the stage, he stopped. For a moment, he simply stood there, his gaze sweeping across the room. And then he spoke. "Thank you for your insight," he began, his voice calm but firm. His words hung in the air, disarming the journalist and the audience alike. There was no anger, no defensiveness, only an undeniable sense of maturity and control. "I've grown up watching people make assumptions about me and my family," Barron continued. "But behind every assumption is a person, a human being with struggles, dreams, and a story. It's easy to judge from the outside, but we all have more in common than we realize." The room was silent, captivated by his words. "Words have power," Barron said. "They can divide or unite, they can hurt or heal, and I think we could all use a little more healing." When he finished, the room erupted into applause.